Not rumors, actual incident reports. On the island of Kauai, dive guides sometimes check their recorded logs and see timestamps for descents they never made, including depth readings and GPS coordinates that don't match any scheduled trip. One guide noticed a dive listed at 3:17 a.m. solo, site marked South Reef Drift. But the boat was docked, and no one had checked out gear. The weirdest part? The dive lasted 14 minutes, and the final logged depth was 106 feet, well past safe limits without a buddy or backup tank. That log entry included one more line: subject seen, still watching. Dive shop techs say it's a glitch, but they've replaced the software 3 times, and every version still records those dives. Same reef, same time, same line.
This one came from a guy named Matt. He leads dive tours off the coast of Kauai and swears he's seen someone underwater who shouldn't be alive. It's not uncommon for people to imagine things while scuba diving. The ocean plays tricks on you. Light shifts, bubbles distort vision, shadows move. I've been a dive guide in Hawaii for 8 years, and I've seen all kinds of weird stuff. But this one thing, it keeps happening, and it's always the same. It started about 2 years ago. We were finishing a morning dive off the south shore of Kauai. Just a casual reef circuit, nothing technical. Everyone was back at the surface, heading for the boat. I did one last sweep, as usual, and started my slow ascent. That's when I saw him, about 15 feet below me, hovering still, facing straight upward. No tank, no fins, just a man. Pale skin, dark hair floating gently, eyes open. I froze mid-ascent. He wasn't panicking or trying to swim. He didn't even blink, just watched. At first, I thought he might be snorkeling and sank, but his chest wasn't moving, and his arms weren't paddling. I looked away for a second, just to orient myself. When I looked back, he was gone. Weird, but I chalked it up to poor visibility. 2 months later, different group, different dive site, same coast. I saw him again, same face, same frozen posture, directly below the group, watching. And when I say watching, I mean it. He didn't just float there, he was looking at me, every time. I kept it to myself. The last thing I needed was spooking a bunch of tourists. Dive 3, then 4, same thing, different days, different reefs, always the same guy. The 5th time, I made sure to be the last one in the water and the last one out. As the group ascended, I hovered longer than usual, scanning every angle. And there he was again. This time, he was closer, maybe 6 feet beneath me. I got a better look. His eyes were wide open, but glassy. His mouth was slightly open too, but there were no bubbles. His body was rigid, like he was stuck in position. Not floating limp like a dead person would. More like anchored. I started to descend slightly, slow and careful. Just enough to get a better angle. As I did, his eyes seemed to track me. Not move, track. His pupils followed my exact shift. I stopped. Then, without moving his arms or kicking his legs, he sank, straight down and out of view. I radioed the boat and did a quick solo sweep below the group. Nothing, no trace, no disturbance in the sand, no current shift, nothing but coral and open blue. I finally told the other guides back on land. They laughed it off. "Decompression ghost?" one guy said. Another joked I needed sleep. But a week later, another guide named Lila pulled me aside. "Hey, have you ever seen something weird on a dive?" I said, "Define weird." She said, "Someone staring at you from below." She'd seen him too, different location, different day, same man. We sat down and compared details, and they matched exactly. We tried to track sightings, tried to predict where he might appear, but it's random. Some months he doesn't show at all, but when he does, it's always just once per dive, just for a few seconds, always when we're alone. Never caught on camera and always staring. A month ago it happened again, but this time something was different. I was doing a night dive with an advanced group. Everyone had lights. We were exploring a lava tube cave. Very controlled, very safe. I was bringing up the rear, checking gauges. Suddenly, my light flickered. When it came back on, he was there, hovering just outside the cave entrance. Same face. But this time, his hand was raised, not waving, just extended forward, like he wanted me to follow. I turned to signal the group, just a flash of my torch and a hand signal. When I turned back, gone. The next day, I checked the logs. In that exact spot, 4 years ago, a solo diver went missing. Never recovered. Only thing they found was a glove and a broken depth gauge. No name on record, no confirmed identity. Just a note in the incident log. Body not located. Last seen hovering outside lava tube. I don't know what I saw, but I know he's still out there. This story came from someone named Alina. She stayed at a resort in Maui, and by the third night she knew something wasn't right. I didn't think much of it the first time. Hotel room doors don't always shut right. Sometimes you have to pull hard or the latch doesn't catch. It happens. But this kept happening. I'd booked a 4-night solo stay at a luxury resort in Maui. Ocean view, private balcony, the works. It was a gift to myself after a rough year, burnout, a breakup, and too many nights falling asleep to Netflix and self-help podcasts. I checked in on a Monday. The room was perfect. I unpacked, went for a walk along the beach, grabbed dinner at the hotel restaurant and headed back up just after 9 p.m. That's when I noticed the door. It was unlocked. I was sure I'd locked it. I'm always cautious. I even did the handle check tug before I left. Still, maybe housekeeping had come by again, turned down service or something. Nothing seemed missing. Everything looked untouched. I locked up for the night and forgot about it. The next day, after breakfast and a tour, I came back around 2:30 p.m. And again, the door wasn't locked. Now I knew something was off. I called the front desk. "Hi, I think there might be a problem with my room door. It keeps unlocking on its own." They told me it was impossible. The room had an electronic lock and all access was tracked in the system. No one had keyed in after housekeeping that morning, and no master override had been used. I asked them to send someone to check the lock anyway. Maintenance came by, ran a diagnostic, and shrugged. "Everything checks out. Might just be not latching all the way. These doors are heavy." Fine. I pushed a chair up against the door that night just for peace of mind. It didn't move. But when I woke up, the door was unlatched again. Not wide open, just slightly ajar. The chair had been moved about 6 inches back. I hadn't heard a sound. Now I was nervous. I went down to the front desk again, more serious this time. "Look, someone is either coming into my room or something is very wrong with your system." They asked me to wait while a manager checked the door logs again. She came back looking pale. "There was an override code used at 4:04 a.m., I said. "What's an override code?" She said, "It's a hardwired emergency access. A master code only authorized personnel can use, the kind used by head of security, or sometimes police, in coordination with management." Problem was, they had no record of anyone using it, just the log entry. 4:04 a.m. I asked if they could move me to another room. They did, but not without glancing at each other a few too many times before agreeing. My new room was on a different floor. I double-bolted it, checked every lock, left a note taped across the door seam so I'd know if it opened. Next morning, the note was on the floor, torn, clean down the middle. Door unlocked. But this time, something else was different. On the nightstand was a small white shell, one I didn't recognize. Perfect spiral, too perfect. I packed up and checked out early. At the front desk, I asked one final time, "Who else has access to those override codes?" The woman hesitated. Then she said, "They rotate weekly. But there's one code we don't use anymore." "Why not?" She looked around and lowered her voice. "Because it stopped working, but the system still logs it sometimes, always at 4:04 or oh. This one came from a guy named Marcus, who was just trying to get a picture on the beach. He still keeps that photo, but he won't show anyone. It was supposed to be a perfect trip. Me and my girlfriend Hannah had saved up for 2 years to finally visit Hawaii. We landed on Oahu, spent the first day stuffing ourselves with food, snorkeling, and knocking out early from jet lag. The second evening, we decided to hit one of the less crowded beaches for sunset. You know the kind. Wide sand, barely any tourists, nothing but palm silhouettes and the crashing waves. Hannah wanted a picture of the two of us with the sun dipping into the water behind us. We saw a guy nearby, late 30s, maybe 40s. Khaki shorts, sunglasses, kind of rugged looking, not a tourist, more like a local fisherman or something. She waved at him. "Would you mind taking a photo of us?" He said nothing at first, just looked at us like he didn't hear the question. Then he gave this weird little smile and nodded once. I handed him my phone. He held it steady, looked through the screen, and told us to stand a little to the left. Then he snapped the photo. Just one. "Thanks so much," I said. He handed the phone back, then turned and walked down the beach, never looking back. He didn't say a word. We figured he was just a quiet type. Later that night, back at the hotel, we were flipping through pictures. Everything looked normal, until we got to the sunset photo. At first, it looked great. The lighting, the angle, it was perfect. But then I zoomed in, behind us, in the sand. The man was still there. Except he wasn't just walking away anymore. He was standing farther back now, still facing the camera. But in his hands, he was holding up a cardboard sign. The words were scribbled in black marker, a little hard to read, but we could make it out. "You should leave." Hannah laughed at first. "That's creepy, he must have been joking." I wasn't laughing. When did he have time to write that? We'd only spoken for maybe 10 seconds. I didn't see him holding anything before or after. No bag, no sign. We looked through the rest of the photos from that day. In one, off to the side in a group shot, the same guy was in the background. Standing still, just watching. The next morning, I went back to that beach. Same spot. Nothing unusual, no guy, no sign. I asked a woman jogging by if she'd seen a local guy hanging around the beach yesterday, helping people with photos. She gave me this strange look and said, "You mean the warning guy?" I said, "Wait, what do you mean?" She shrugged. "You're not the first to ask. I've had a couple of tourists ask me about someone like that over the years. Always near sunset. Always disappears after. Does he live around here?" She shook her head. "No one knows who he is." Back at the hotel, I checked the photo again. I tried reversing the image metadata. The timestamp said it was taken at 6:43 p.m., but the sunset that day was at 6:31 p.m. The sky in the photo was bright orange, the sun just above the water. Except it shouldn't have been. That wasn't the sky at 6:43, and then Hannah pointed out something else. The photo wasn't saved as a standard .jpg. It was listed as warning 1.jpg. I hadn't renamed it. I know how files are saved on iPhones. That's not normal. We tried to show it to the hotel manager when we checked out. He looked uncomfortable and just said, "You're not the first ones, but you're lucky. Some people don't get a warning." We flew home the next day. I still have that photo. I backed it up to the cloud, though I've never posted it. And sometimes, when I open it, I swear, the guy in the background looks a little closer than before.